Hey everybody, I'm APH and welcome to a new series for the channel, The Farthest Frontier. Now I've been doing a lot of guides for this and it's been highly requested that I do a playthrough to kind of go with the guides that I've been doing. So let's get started. So today we will be playing on Vanquisher. It's a little bit rougher than what I typically play on. I'm a little bit more of a trailblazer type of fan for a game like this, but I think for content purposes, we'll try something a little bit more different. And for the name, we'll stick with Blackmire. I think that's pretty good. For the map size, we are going to go with medium. And the reason behind medium is it's a little bit of a lag issue. On the bigger maps, they seem to have some stuttering issues. So, and I like to go pretty big. So I don't want to feel like I have to build to the edge of the map, have thousands of people, and have tons of lag. For the map type, I'm going to stick with plains. Now, the reason for plains is I want my enemies to be able to attack me from all sides. I think it's a little bit more interesting to not have choke points. And with that, let's get going. All right, so I do want all of the labels. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle the F3 and F4 so I can see the quantities of the resources and see what all my people are doing. We've got a couple of wolves right at our main starting spot here. We do have a clay patch right there and some hayworth. This lake looks like an interesting spot. We've got one big fishing shoal, but the big thing is that we've got some medical herbs around there. Taking a quick look over the rest of the map, I'm going to see if we have another area. This area looks really good with the herbs and the fishing shoal right there. Medical roots, we've got the clay. That's really good. That might be kind of the area that we focus on. We've got a nice mountain here. We've got a nice sand pit there. We've got some wolves over in this area. Another clay pit over here. The minimum for this is we have some herbs and some things on the map that we are looking for as a just in case. That looks pretty good. Let's go. All right, let's grab some resources just to kind of get started here. Now, one of my biggest concerns right off the bat is we saw wolves and we saw boars, and both can be very territorial as well as predatory. So let's go ahead and grab up a couple of hunters to get started here. This is probably going to be a big chunk of my food source. We'll throw one on each side of, well, kind of on this side of the town hall, and then we'll throw a fisher in the middle eventually once we get some more workers. Starting out with only 10 workers is a little bit brutal. Let's go ahead and get those notifications closed out. For the rest of our food, I'm thinking that we go with a couple of foragers, and we'll do the same thing on this side over here. We'll leave room for a road. We'll go with 2 foragers, one on the top, one on the bottom. That will give us room for fishers in the middle, or it will give us room for some root sellers. And then we'll move around the work radius as they get finished. Next on the list, we definitely need water. Now, this is going to be a big issue. Thankfully, we're close to a lake, so we're going to get some pretty hefty bonuses. I'm thinking that we go ahead and throw one over here. This is kind of the side of our town that's going to be away from the houses into the industrial, which is good. This will give it a good area where kind of fire protection, and then we need a fire splitter to kind of go with that. Let's go ahead and throw that right there. That will kind of be the start of our industrial district. So I do want to give them just a little bit of time to build this before I get any more houses going. And as the well does require some rocks, I'm going to go ahead and prioritize just a couple of the rocks. That way they'll get them picked up first. All right, now that all of our foragers and hunters are built, let's get all of their work radiuses kind of placed around where we want them. This looks pretty good with getting a lot of herbs, greens, medical roots, as well as berries and nuts. We'll go ahead and go with that for the first one. Taking a look at the second one, I'm thinking somewhere on this side of the lake, and we'll push this way a little bit. We'll probably move that a little bit further on as the game progresses a little bit and we see a little bit more around that lake. For the first hunter, I do see a patch of deer right here. Let's go ahead and move that over there. And the second hunter, I want to use them as exploration. So I'm going to go ahead and start placing them. And what I'll do is I'll slowly move them around as it explores. They're going to be the protection and our main way of exploring for the early game. Now that we've got all of our food kind of situated, the next thing on the agenda list is storage. Now this first storage is going to be for firewood and logs specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a gap way there for a road. Go ahead and throw that in there. That will be our logs and firewood. And then I want to give a half gap this way to the north, as I'm going to go ahead and call it, for my houses. So let's move. I'm going to say let's do 6 spots. And this is going to be pretty tightly packed. And I'm going to be doing, typically I like to do somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 to 32 houses per market. Because we're on Vanquisher and because this area is going to be nice and wide open, I'm probably going to push somewhere around 50 houses per market. So as they're getting building there, this is built, I'm going to go ahead and unselect these. I'm not going to torture you guys with all of this, but if you haven't seen this little check is how to control this. The only thing I want here is just firewood and logs. So I'm going to go ahead and unselect everything else. So one of my big worries is the water here going to be close enough to my village there to kind of make sure that they have a good source of not only fresh water, but a good place to go if there's a fire. So I'm going to go ahead and plan for another well being a little bit closer. And as long as we're green lit, which it looks like we are, I'm going to go ahead and throw one right there. That will be my well for my town. The next thing will be to get my saw pit, and we'll plan down here. We're going to keep most of our industry down here. I do want to take a look at the people, and we only have 3 workers available, and a lot are piled into builders. So this is going to be an issue with only 10 people. So typically I like to have a 60, 30, 10 split. 60% on jobs, 30% on labor, and 10% on builders. With only having 10 people, I'm gonna go with 20% onto builders. So I'm gonna limit it to 2. And now we have the notification that we have people waiting, but they need houses and food. Food so far is not an issue. We have 11 months worth of food, and we're gonna have to start smoking that, but getting the people in here to do that is going to be an issue. And with the amount of people or the amount of food that we have, let's go ahead and move out our houses even further. So we're going to go ahead and expand. I'm going to plan for another 4, but I'm going to disable 2 of them. So let's grab the houses and let's do, again, they're going to be butted right up against each other. I'm just going to place 2 more on each side, something like this, and then these back 2. I'm just going to disable them for the moment. And this will be an outline of where I want to build. The builder is just about done. We're still running into issues with logs, and that's to do with the fact that we just don't have people. With as many people as we have dedicated to food production, I mean, 4 of our people are in hunters and gatherers, and then 1 person's a fire log splitter. We only have 5 people on top of that, so we really have to start encouraging people to move in. After the sawmill, we're going to want to start preserving some of that meat that we find. Talking about preserving meat, let's move the radius of this building over a little bit, and we have our first predator sighted. Let's see what we got for the first one. And it looks like a wolf is attacking. So let's see if we can find the hunter, and we'll go ahead and get them hunting that wolf. See if we can get a little bit of protection. Let's go ahead and slow it down just a touch while we're getting them. Come on. I don't want to lose my first person. And it looks like they went into a house and we got our first predator down, and we didn't lose our first person. Very nice. So hopefully we keep with that. I'd like to make it through the first year without losing anybody. We have our impending blizzard year 1. That's absolutely insane. All right, let's go ahead and speed back up and let's see what the new year brings. Look at that, new villagers immigrated. So we've got 14 people. We've got our first newborn, and we're back on track for having enough people. Let's go ahead and adjust this up. Let's go ahead and adjust this to 3 for the time being. I want to keep as many laborers in there as possible because we have to harvest as much trees to get as much firewood to make sure that the blizzard doesn't kill us. All right, so as year 2 rounds the corner, we have 3 new immigrants. This is pretty good. We're starting off year 2 without losing anybody. And well, we've got 17 people. That means we can do some expanding. Food might become an issue fairly quick here. Houses, thankfully, I did re-enable the houses, and they built one of the ones that was disabled before they finished the other ones, but I want to start focusing back on that food. Let's get some fishers, and what I'm going to do is throw them in the neighborhood of right between the hunters and the foragers, and then we'll place them around this lake. Now for food storage, I do want to get a root cellar now, so let's get one planned kind of on the edge of our food production there, and what we'll do is we'll throw one on each side, and then we'll throw a smokehouse right beneath them. And it looks like we have some more people coming into town. Look at that, another 7 people. So the fisher yards could not have been done soon enough. So let's plan out those smokehouses now, and we'll go ahead and throw one on each side, kind of like we did the storage. That will give us not only a good sense of storage, but it hopefully will get us a lot of preserving of all that smoked meat. It wants us to build a market. We did get the planks produced in there. They've got 16 in the warehouse. So now I do want a storage for that. I guess that would be the next thing that we want. And what we'll do is we'll put it somewhere down around here. I like this one is set up for doing firewood and logs. This one's probably going to be set up for doing logs and planks. And with that, we can start to plan out our market. Now, I want this to be fanning out from the market, which means we're going to do houses in each of the 4 cardinal directions. For the market itself, I kind of want to focus it in the center, and it says that we still need a storehouse. I got a little ahead of myself. Let's get a storehouse next to our lumber mill, and that's just going to be a general store. So that should take a couple of minutes to build. First fisher is done, and the second one's done. It's saying that they have no fishing in area, but that's okay. We'll get them moved around. Let's get that one focused there. Let's get this one focused somewhere around 140. That's pretty good. Anywhere over 120 is what I find is about the best. And what I'm finding, you guys will have to let me know down in the comments, is no matter how high I get them, it seems like they hit a limit where they don't get any more. I'm also seeing that we might be running into issues with bows and arrows. We've got 1 bow in storage and 20 arrows, so Fletcher's going to have to be on the agenda fairly quickly here. The storehouse is just about to build. We're just about to get our other storage here. Let's make sure we have plenty of stuff being harvested. We're pretty much going to clear cut all of this area around us, give us a nice clearing so that we can see any predators coming up. And not that we'll see armies for a while, but we'll make sure the area is nice and clear so that if in the event that we do have an army, we'll have some clear shots. Roads, I'm going to hold out on roads until I have a pretty good estimation of how I'm going to do my city center, and then we're going to start filling in roads. But what I can do is areas like this where I'm fairly confident I can start putting them in. We do have another predator. Let me finish up this and then we'll go take a look at that predator. We'll just do that first one. All right, let's take a look. And that predator's pretty much dead. So whoever this is, probably a hunter. Mia, probably. I'm probably saying that wrong. Mia, hunter. It looks like they have made short work of that. Immediately chopped up the carcass with an axe and is bringing home the bacon. So they are doing their job. Thank you. Thank you very much for keeping us safe. I haven't had a need for a graveyard yet, but I got a feeling that that's coming, and we'll plan on, just for the inevitable, probably a 6x6, and we're probably going to go somewhere in the neighborhood. We'll go right on the other edge here. We'll go down and we'll go ahead and put a 6x6 right there. There is a little bit of a trick, and we'll kind of show you that later on, where you can put a graveyard on top of a graveyard. That way, if you're running into issues with, oh man, I've got full graveyards, you don't have to build more. I'm waiting on this storehouse to build so I can get a market. That's actually taking a little bit longer than I thought. I think the amount of laborers that I have, we should have enough in storage. Speaking of storage, I'm going to go ahead and configure this one up now. Again, I just want this to be planks and logs. Now that our storehouse is built, now we can get our market. Thank you. I always get ahead of myself, and what I want to do is leave a road in between, and then because this is only a 4x4 and the houses are 3x3, we're going to leave a little bit of an extra gap. So I'm thinking we go right there. For the road, I'm going to go ahead and put in this road because we're probably going to place a road around the market, and that will kind of get me the first little bit of guidance of where I'm going to be building. For this direction, because of the wonkiness of roads, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, where a lot of games roads are done as single sections. The roads in this game are done as lengths. Deleting out a road means I have to either delete out the whole thing or I have to just kind of deal with it, and sometimes doing shorter and longer lengths is kind of really goofy. So I'm gonna hold out as much as I can on building roads. All right, now that our market is done, we've started to tick over some money, and ticking over with some money, we are also starting to tick over with some waste. So I want to get a composter going fairly quickly here. Let's go ahead under the resources and let's go and grab a compost yard. I want to leave this area fairly open because I want to place a few more lumber yards. Let's go on this side of the graveyard, and I promise we are not making Soylent Green. Promise that is not what we're doing, as this area is pretty well secured. Let's do a road here. Let's move a road up this way and close off that. We can do a road around the graveyard. Let's do a road this way across and around, and that will kind of signify that. I think there's a little bit of a gap in between where if we wanted, we could place a road this way, and just to kind of make it kind of blocked in. Oh, see, that's the wonkiness that I was talking about with roads. It won't let me, oh, there, it let me build it. I was going to say, it's not going to let me build that. We'll do the same thing over here. And maybe what I'll do is do this one right here a little separate. And there we go. That'll look nice. We are 28 of the 30 people that we need to upgrade our town center. We need some more planks, and we need, it looks like everything else we have. So we've got the 8 houses. We just need the planks. So let's take a look at our people real quick. We've got 11 people in the hot seat there. So let's put a couple more into the saw pit, and let's start planning the next major upgrade here. So I'm thinking we start working to the west, and then once we start working to the west, I guess technically that's the east. I'm a little bit backwards here today. Let's plan some houses, and what we'll do, I think it's going to go this way. We'll go a total of another 4 houses out. We're going to put houses on the back to kind of match them, but for right now, I just want them to kind of give me the spacing that I want. And what we'll do, I don't want to build this road yet, but I'm guessing we're going to leave one gap, because typically what I do is I do a 2x2, which would put a road here, which means there's a gap here where we're not going to have a house where I typically would. I'm thinking that that's going to be the boundary, which is going to put us in this neighborhood. We've got a boar sighting there, and I want to start pushing those boars out a little bit. Let's grab our hunter. Let's get this guy over this way, and we'll start placing some walls fairly soon here, because what we're going to want in this area is going to be some farms. Let's do a temp road, something that looks like that. And then what we'll do is another well to kind of go with this little section here. So I want it kind of lined up with the middle. So we'll go right there. Figuring we're going to have 2 rows of walls, and then we're going to lead to the outside. So if we do 2 rows of walls, we're looking at somewhere right around here for where we're going to start our garden. So let's plan our first of our farms. Now, I know a lot of times 10 by 10 seems like it's really good. A 5 by 5 has had the rework, and now requires 2 people. What I am finding works the best is an 8 by 8. Getting out of here, I want to kind of work around that clay pit for the time being. Taking a look, that's 4,000 sand. I think we're gonna go just to the north of that, and then what we'll do is we'll come back in time. So we'll do an 8 by 8 right there. We're gonna let that one get started, and then we're going to get it all configured. We had 3 people attacked by predators, but it looks like they downed the predator, and I might have to move both of my hunters over that way, but it looks like we have some injured people because of it. Thankfully boars are quite a bit of food. Let's figure out which one this is. So this one is this one over here. Let's get these guys over here to kind of push back on those boars a little bit as well. Again, we're just going to push them out, and that will give us a good food source as we're starting to build this. Now for the town hall itself, we are at the houses, we're at the market, and we're at the population. Let's get this upgraded, and that I believe is going to be a sweet spot for calling this an episode. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for subscribing, liking, and all those things. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen nearly a 30% increase in the size of my channel, so I'd like to give you guys a huge shout out and thank you for that. And we will see you in the next one, where we start getting into farming and start getting into some of those tier 2 buildings. Thank you.